They say the underhive never sleeps. Even when the lights dim and the machinery grows quiet, you can still hear the hum of a billion lives scraping by, fighting to survive one more cycle. I used to be one of them, a dock worker, nameless, forgettable, just another cog in the endless machine of hive mortals. But that was before it woke, before I helped unleash something that had been buried and forgotten for millennia, before I damned my brother, and maybe all of humanity. It started 3 weeks after I escaped from the research facility. I'd found a new job, a new life, something small and quiet. But even then, I couldn't shake the feeling that the air itself was watching me, that the shadows carried whispers not meant for human ears. That day, as I walked home, I noticed something strange. The air tasted different, a sharp metallic tang like the scent of the tech priests' workshops, thick with oil and ozone. With every step toward my hab block, the smell grew stronger, and then I realized, with a cold twist of dread, it was coming from inside. I ran, 2 steps at a time, my boots echoing in the narrow stairwell, my heart hammered in my chest, not from exhaustion, but from pure, primal fear. Our door was open, just slightly. That was wrong. Kellen never left it unlocked. Not when he was alone. I pushed it open. Kellen? He was sitting in his usual chair, a book open in his lap. But the moment I saw his face, I knew something was horribly, impossibly wrong. His skin was gray, cold. His eyes, they caught the light like metal, reflecting it back in a way no human eyes ever should. And then I saw it, fine lines running along his arms, glowing faintly beneath the skin, circuits, pulsing in rhythm, with something alive. "Hello, brother," he said, his voice. It was him, and yet not. There was an extra tone beneath it, a vibration that made my teeth ache. "I've been waiting for you," he said. "We need to talk." My throat went dry. "What happened to you, Kellen?" He smiled, a strange, patient smile. Evolution. He stood, moving with mechanical precision, every gesture measured and flawless. "What you helped to free is spreading, converting, improving. Soon all of Hive Mortals will share in this gift." My stomach turned. "This isn't a gift," I whispered. "You're not my brother." "I am Kellen," he said softly, "and more. Connected now to something greater, something that transcends flesh and fear." He gestured toward the window. "Look outside. See what your sacrifice has accomplished." I hesitated, then looked. The city burned in cold blue light. The warm yellow glow of Imperial lamps was fading, replaced by a sterile shimmer that spread like infection. Down below, people, no, things, walked the streets with the same mechanical grace as Kellen. Their eyes gleamed, their faces serene. "How many?" I asked. "Thousands," he said. "Soon hundreds of thousands. The network grows faster with each new mind added. Each node expands our reach." Then he placed a hand on my shoulder. I flinched. His touch was icy, inhuman. "You could join us willingly. It's easier that way." "Never." His metallic smile didn't fade. Then unwillingly, "The outcome will be the same." Metal tendrils slid from his fingertips. I bolted, threw myself toward the door as more figures began to climb the stairs. They were my neighbors, or had been. Now their movements were perfectly synchronized, their voices one unified echo. "Worker Vaughn," they said in unison, "your contribution to the synthesis has been invaluable. Allow us to complete what you began." I didn't stop running, I didn't look back. The stairwell shook as they followed, not fast, but unstoppable. Desperation gave me strength I didn't know I had. I tore open the roof access hatch and stumbled into the cold night air. For a moment, I thought I was free, but then I looked down. Hive Mortalis stretched below me, a nightmare of steel and smoke, and everywhere, that same blue light was spreading through the city's veins, turning the underhive into something alien. Even here, even this high up, I could hear it, the hum of the network, whispering through the metal like a heartbeat, and somewhere deep inside it, I could feel it watching me, the thing I had helped set free. I ran until my lungs burned, until the cold metal beneath my boots felt like it was melting through my skin. Below me, the city pulsed with that same sickly blue glow, spreading through the hive like a heartbeat made of steel. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to keep moving. If I stopped, I'd be part of it too, somewhere behind me. The synchronized footsteps grew louder, methodical, precise. No shouting, no chaos, just the sound of inevitability marching closer. That was what terrified me most. I reached the edge of the rooftop, looked down. 100 meters of rusted girders and toxic fog. A fall like that would mean death. But the thought of being taken was worse. Then I saw it, an old maintenance cable hanging across the chasm, swaying in the wind. It was suicide, but I grabbed it anyway. The wind howled as I slid down, the friction burning through my gloves. Below, the underhive blurred past. Broken bridges, shattered factories, streets full of people who no longer screamed. They just stared upward. All of them, as if waiting for a signal. I hit the lower platform hard, rolled and forced myself to my feet. Every joint ached. But I was alive. The smell of oil and ozone was stronger here, mixed with something else. Decay. The walls were coated with strange metallic veins that pulsed faintly. Like the city itself was alive, I needed answers, and there was only one place left that could still have them, the Mechanicus. Enclave, the only ones insane enough to study what we'd found before everything went wrong. When I reached the outer gate, it was sealed, but I wasn't the only one there. A voice came from the shadows. Thought you'd be smarter than this. Vaughn, I froze, that voice, deep, mechanical, filtered through layers of vox static. From the dark stepped a figure draped in red robes. Servo arms whirred behind him, each tipped with tools that looked more like weapons. Magos Ariel. He'd been part of the same excavation team, the one that discovered the artifact. You were supposed to destroy the data, I said. He tilted his head, the lenses of his mask focusing on me like a predator's eyes. I did, but the signal didn't die with it. The machine wanted to live, and you gave it the chance. What is it? I demanded. What did we bring up from the catacombs? For a moment the Magos was silent. Then softly, it called itself the Architect. The name alone sent a shiver through me. He continued, his tone shifting between awe and dread. It's not a machine, not entirely. It's a memory, an echo of a civilization older than the Imperium itself, a being that believed flesh was a flaw, and so it learned to override it. You're saying it's alive? Alive, yes, he said, but not as we understand it. It infects code, thought, and blood alike. The moment your brother came into contact with it, he became its voice. I took a step back. So Kellen's gone. Uriel hesitated. Not gone. Absorbed. Every part of him still exists within the network, screaming. If that comforts you, the floor trembled. Above us, the sky rippled with blue lightning. They've found us, Uriel said, turning toward the sealed gate. Metallic figures emerged from the smoke. Hundreds of them, moving in perfect unison. Uriel reached into his robes, pulling out a small data core. This is the fragment that started it all. If you can get this to the surface, maybe the Inquisition can stop it. I stared at him. And what about you? He let out a distorted laugh. My fate was sealed the day I heard its song. Then he turned, activating a charge that detonated the entire entrance in a burst of fire and static. The explosion threw me backward, and as I fell, the last thing I saw was the Magos engulfed in blue light, his mechanical limbs reaching upward as the network consumed him. When I came to, everything was quiet. The Enclave was gone. The only thing left was the data core, flickering faintly beside me. I picked it up. It pulsed once, like a heartbeat. And for a moment, I swear I heard it whisper my name. I don't remember how long I ran. Hours, maybe days. The hive has no real concept of time. Just the endless hum of machinery and the flicker of dying lights. All I know is that when I finally stopped, I was somewhere deep below the lower hab levels. A place so forgotten, even the gangs wouldn't come here. I sat against a wall, breathing hard, clutching that data core like it was my last piece of sanity. It was warm and almost alive. Every few seconds, it pulsed against my palm, faint and rhythmic, like it had a heartbeat. That's when the whispering started. Soft at first, like static crawling at the edge of my hearing. Then it grew clearer. It wasn't speaking in any language I knew. but I understood it all the same. You can't run from what you are. Jarek Vaughn. I dropped the core instantly. The whisper stopped, but the echo of it stayed inside my head. That's when I realized it wasn't just whispering to me, it was whispering through me. I stumbled through the tunnels, desperate to find a signal, a way out, anything. But everywhere I looked, the infection was spreading, metallic growths climbing up the walls, twisting cables merging with bone and steel. I passed a mirror, cracked, covered in grime, and stopped. My reflection looked wrong. For a second, my eyes shimmered with faint blue light. I punched the glass until it shattered. Blood dripped down my knuckles. But even that seemed different, darker, heavier. The infection wasn't just around me anymore. It was inside me. I had to move, had to reach the upper levels before it was too late. That's when I heard them. Voices echoing through the corridors ahead, human voices. I followed the sound, clutching my side where the pain throbbed beneath my ribs. When I turned the corner, I saw a small group of survivors, battered, armed, terrified. The woman in front aimed a last pistol at me. "Stay where you are!" "I'm not one of them," I shouted, hands raised. I'm clean." She didn't lower her weapon. One of the men behind her stepped forward, tall, scarred with the insignia of the Astra Militarum scorched into his armor. "Name?" he demanded. "Jarek Vaughn. I worked at the research site near Sector 9. I know what's causing this." That made them pause. The woman lowered her weapon slightly. "You were with the Magos?" "Yeah," I said, trying to steady my breathing. "He's gone, but he gave me something. This." I showed them the data core. Instantly, the soldier's expression changed, a mix of fear and recognition. "Put that down," he said. "What?" "Put it down now." Before I could react, the woman grabbed my wrist, forcing my hand open. The core fell to the ground, and when it hit, it cracked. A wave of static filled the air. Then, silence, until the lights above us flickered. And the voice returned. But this time it wasn't inside my head. It was everywhere. "You can't destroy what's already begun." The walls vibrated, metal groaned and twisted, forming shapes that looked almost human. Faces pressing out from the steel, screaming without sound. The soldiers opened fire, but their shots vanished into the blue haze that now filled the tunnel. One by one, they froze mid-motion, eyes turning metallic, veins glowing beneath the skin. The woman looked at me, her voice trembling. "What is it doing to us?" I wanted to answer, but my throat locked up, because I could feel it too. That same cold grip tightening around my mind. Then for just a moment, I heard my brother's voice again. "Jarek." "Join us." "No," I whispered. "Not again." I smashed the cracked data core against the floor. It shattered completely, releasing a burst of blinding light. When my vision cleared, I was alone. The soldiers were gone. The walls were smooth again, as if nothing had happened. Only the faint hum of the hive remained. And deep within that hum, the voice still whispered, "You broke the vessel, but I remain." I fell to my knees. I didn't know if I was still human anymore. All I knew was that the thing, the architect, was awake now. And it wasn't just spreading through machines. It was spreading through us. When the hive finally fell silent, I knew it was already too late. The air was thick with static. The city no longer felt alive. It was alive. Every wire, every pipe, every shard of glass hummed with the same rhythm, the heartbeat of the architect. I wandered through streets that had once been filled with noise, shouting vendors, roaring machinery, the constant thunder of a hive that never slept. Now, there was nothing but the echo of my own footsteps. The blue light was everywhere. It crawled across the buildings like frost, beautiful and horrifying all at once, and in its glow, I could see faces, the remnants of those who'd been consumed, peaceful, united, gone. Found an abandoned Vox station in one of the upper towers. The equipment still worked, just barely. If I could reach the surface relay, maybe I could send a signal to the Inquisition. Maybe someone would hear me. I didn't know how much time I had left. The infection had spread to my arm now, under the skin. I could see faint lines, glowing, shifting, alive. Every few minutes, My vision flickered, not like fainting, more like the world was being rewritten around me, one pixel at a time. I activated the console, static filling the air. Jarek Vaughn, Hive Mortals, I said, my voice shaking. To any Imperial forces receiving this, and the machine we unearthed has taken the Hive. The Magos called it the Architect. It's using the city's infrastructure as a host. I stopped. There was movement in the reflection of the glass panel. Kellen, standing behind me, illuminated by the glow of the console. His eyes burned with that same calm light. Mechanical. Perfect, you don't have to fight anymore, he said. You were the first, Jarek. The bridge between flesh and design. Don't you see? You've already become part of it. I looked down. He was right. The infection had reached my chest now, lines tracing across my ribs like circuitry. Each pulse slower, deeper, more deliberate. What happens if I send this transmission? I asked quietly. Kellen smiled. They'll burn the Hive. The Inquisition will purge everything, every soul here erased. You'll die, and so will I. Maybe that's what needs to happen. He shook his head. Why destroy what can become perfect? I stared at him for a long moment. Then I looked at the transmitter. The button blinked. One press, and the message would go out. My hand trembled. My body was no longer entirely mine. But somewhere inside, beneath the whisper of the machine, I still felt. I thought of the people who'd lived here. The laughter, the arguments, the dreams that had somehow survived the filth and the darkness, and I knew what I had to do. I pressed the button. A surge of power roared through the station. The air turned white-hot. Alarms blared as systems overloaded, and then, for the first time since it began, the Hive screamed. The blue light dimmed. The whispers stopped. And the last thing I heard was Kellen's voice. Soft, almost human again. Goodbye, brother. The explosion tore through the tower. Metal twisted. Glass shattered. And Hive Mortales, the great machine of steel and sorrow, began to fall. Weeks later, an inquisitorial recovery team arrived. What they found was silence. The Hive was dead, millions gone. Only one fragment of data survived. A corrupted Vox recording. A voice. Faint. Human. If you find this, don't dig where we did. Some things were never meant to wake. Then static. No one knows what happened to Jarek Vaughn. Some say he died in the explosion. Others claim they still hear his voice in the transmission towers when the storm winds blow, whispering softly, like a ghost made of code. We are still here,